first joint that we're going to create is the Daito joint. You could say this is where the hip attaches to the torso. A dado is simply a groove that's cut across the grain. The materials that you'll need include a pencil, tape measure, 2 wood pieces, the table saw itself, and the miter gauge. The depth of the dado is going to be half the thickness of our back board. So what we want to do is set our blade height to be half the thickness of our board. The best way to do that is with a scrap piece. So I've grabbed a scrap piece that's the same thickness as our pieces. And what you can do simply, if you have a good eye, you can just eye the center. If you don't, then grab a tape measure and mark the center point. Once you have that mark, we're going to raise the blade up to be to that line. And we're going to lower it just a little bit below that line just to make sure we don't take off too much. And we're going to now set the blade height using this scrap piece. See, we are just below the line. All the line is still there, so I'm going to raise it slightly. You loosen up the center knob, raise it slightly, and then lock that center knob, the set screw back down to make sure the blade doesn't lower if this saw vibrates. With that wide of a blade, this table saw does vibrate a little more. Use one more pass, raise it slightly more. Now we've trimmed half our line off. That's perfect. Now that we've set our blade height, we want to locate our dado. To do this, we'll follow the directions. It tells us we should be going a ½ inch up. Then our dado will go across from there, so that'll be the bottom of the dado. I want to be strategic in where I make my ½ inch mark. I'm going to need to line up that mark with the blade, so I'm going to make it a ½ inch here. Now if I rotate this around, so make sure you line up with the tooth in a dado blade like this. The teeth angle out on the edges, so make sure you line up with the outermost point of the blade. Make sure you're holding your piece so it does not slide side to side, and we're ready to make our cut. Make sure you're keeping your fingers at least 4 inches back for the table saw. Now luckily, I didn't have too bad a chip out. I cut nice and slow. But it's always advised, put a strap piece behind your piece that you're cutting so you don't have tear out behind. I'm going to use my scrap from before. But I do have to make one more cut. This is the piece that goes in. Does not quite fit yet. So I'm going to take a look at how close it is. And I'm going to make an adjustment of my board. The key is lining up your board as you get close. You can see the sides of the blade. You have to eye it as you get close. Always err on the side of cutting too little than too much. That is a nice joint.